Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 133 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
I'm good, man. How about you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah?
Rode the motorcycle a bunch this week.
Yeah, I see you got like the bugs.
Bugs on my face,
Yeah.
bugs in my teeth. Now, the weather was just amazing. It's supposed to turn cold here, I think, starting tomorrow maybe, but this week has been great.
It's been like in the 90s, man.
Yeah, it's been hot. So got some good riding in. What else? My daughter's coming home this weekend from college.
Well,
I'm
that
excited
makes you
about
happy.
that. Yeah. I haven't seen her in a while. So
She needs her laundry done.
she does need her laundry done. She probably needs money, and then she'll leave. But it'll be good to see her. So we have some new Patreon supporters. So let's go ahead and give our shout outs.
Okay.
We had Kay Diane Thompson,
Hey, Kay.
Karen Cooper,
What's up, Karen?
Kristen Singer,
Hey, Kristen.
Tara Jenkins,
What's up, Tara?
Melanie Smith,
Hey, Melanie.
K Raj.
Hey, Kay Wolf.
I don't even know what that was. Cindy Broden,
Hey, Cindy.
Andrea Williams,
What's up, Andrea?
Lisa Fizel,
Fazell.
Joanna Stakon,
I don't wanna. Maybe I do wanna.
Natasha Clear,
Hey, Natasha.
Justin Ennis,
Hey, Justin.
Robert Wilder,
What's up?
Kristen Walters,
How you doing?
Sarah Ryan,
Hey, Sarah.
Whitley Bilger,
Whitley.
Hey,
Whitley.
it's a cool name,
Yeah, it is.
Dina Shoup,
Hey, Dina.
Bailey Salazar,
Hey, Bailey.
Cassidy Adado.
Ooh, Adato.
Yeah.
Like Robato.
Mr. Rubato.
Yeah.
Awili Nwezi.
Wazy? Like the Waze app.
Yeah, just like that.
Just like
Gibbs.
that.
Exactly.
Just like
I think
that.
that's actually where they got the name. Rebecca Elgood, or Elgood,
How about El Good?
maybe. Mark Kramer
Hey, Mark.
and Linda Robinson.
Hey, Linda.
So we appreciate all that new support. And then if we go back into the vault, Gibbs, this week we selected Molly.
Hey, Molly.
Molly's been with us a long time. We appreciate all the support on Patreon, the new support, the long-term support. We had some great support on PayPal as well. We had Bangin' Lips by Brittany.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know what that is, but
I don't either, but thank you.
That might be a line of lipstick for all I know.
Yeah.
Lisa Fizel,
Fazell.
who I just said in the Patreon. So she's supporting us on both Patreon and PayPal.
See, a baller, man.
Yeah. Pauline Timms,
Hey, Pauline.
Catherine Pigeon,
Pigeon.
and Jenny Nicholas.
What's up, Jenny?
So love it. Appreciate it. We always do. Gibbs, right now we have part 2 on John Wayne Gacy that's out on True Crime All the Time. Got some great feedback on part 1. We get deeper in part 2.
Getting into some funky times.
We get into some murderous John Wayne Gacy. Don't forget about the Reviews Are In, our new podcast. New episodes are out every Tuesday morning. This past Tuesday, Gibbs, we covered reviews on some of the more famous correctional facilities in the country. Talked about Folsom, San Quentin, you name it.
Cook County.
Cook County.
Yeah. Rikers.
Oh, Rikers Island. Yeah, forgot about that. But definitely check that out. A lot of people are emailing in with suggestions. We've got some great feedback on that show. People like it as a respite from true crime, right? Something a little lighter, 30 minutes, doesn't take long to get through every week. It's a little palate cleanser for you.
It's a good laugh.
We just put out a brand new Patreon only video episode on Saturday.
Yeah.
So if you're a Patreon supporter, make sure you check that out. If you're not, it's a great time to sign up. We're doing 2 complete episodes on video this month alone. All right, buddy. Are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
I'm all set, man.
We're talking about 2 different cases in this episode. We're talking about the disappearance and murder of Jackie Lee Douthart in 2011. And then we'll discuss the disappearance and double murder of Lyric Cook-Morrissey and Elizabeth Collins in 2012. Both of these cases occurred in Iowa.
Yeah.
So that's the tie-in.
There we go.
There was not enough information on either case for a standalone episode, but by putting the two together, we can make an episode. So that's what we did.
Exactly what we did there.
So let's start out talking about Jackie Lee Douthart. She was born on August 19th, 1986 in Keosauga, Iowa, to Joseph Douthart and Tammy Marie Walker. Jackie grew up around the Bonaparte, Iowa area. She went to Harmony High School. She was an attractive young lady. It was said that she was a person that made friends very easily. She was well liked by many. She had a beautiful daughter named Zoe. Jackie worked at the local Hardee's, and she was very outdoorsy. She loved to do anything outdoors. She liked to go rock climbing. She liked to go rock hunting, camping with friends and her daughter, and she liked to go hiking. So basically, if there was an activity outdoors, she was into it.
I'm kind of like that.
She was the opposite of me.
Yeah, absolutely the opposite of you.
She was very outdoorsy. I am very indoorsy.
Unless there's a way to put an air conditioning unit around you that moves with you.
In a bubble.
In a bubble, yeah.
At the time of her disappearance, Jackie Douthart was engaged to a man named Brent Bradley. She was 25 years old, living in Mount Pleasant. She went missing after a night out with friends on May 22nd, 2011. And we have to, Gibbs, talk about what she was wearing. This is important in a case where you have a disappearance.
Sure.
That night, she was wearing jeans, a striped shirt with a vest, and flip-flops. And by all accounts, she had a great night, a very fun night with her group of friends. And it was a long night, stretched into the early morning, and she left with one of her friends early that next morning. The last place that she was seen was on North Cherry Street in the early morning hours of the 23rd when her friend Ben Biggs dropped her off. Ben had a little bit of a checkered past. Some reports mentioned that he had a record of drug use as well as assault. And you know, Gibbs, he's going to be one of the first people interviewed by police after it's realized that Jackie has disappeared. And they did interview him, as well as some of Jackie's other friends that she was with the night before, but nothing came out of it. You know, in those interviews, all of the people said there was nothing really out of the ordinary that occurred, either the night before or in the early morning hours.
Yeah, just nothing stood out. And typically, like a case like this, you can usually point back to something that happened that night. Some big blow up, some fight.
Some guy looked at somebody wrong, was staring too long.
Yeah.
There's things like that in some of these cases. Didn't seem to have it here.
No, in this case, everything seemed to be just fine.
This is probably not much different than the many nights that you and I, either together or separately in our past, have gone out and had fun, got home, nothing happened.
Right.
The only difference here is that Jackie disappeared.
Yeah.
But other than that, it seemed as though it was just like any other night out.
Exactly.
For all of these people. So I think pretty quickly, the city and county jumped into action. They had a search team out trying to locate Jackie. Investigators canvassed the area. They were looking for any type of lead in her disappearance. And we know in these scenarios, you have to act very quickly. And it sounds like they did. But as time moved on, police exhausted their search efforts. And they made the decision that they wanted to interview Ben more thoroughly. Right? They wanted to go over the details of that night, the early morning again. The problem is, at the time they made this decision, Gibbs, that they wanted to interview Ben again, they couldn't find him. It would be about a month after Jackie's disappearance. This is June 29th, 2011, which happens to be my birthday.
I put that in there just for you.
You did.
Yeah.
When police were involved in a high-speed chase. They're chasing Ben, not because they want to interview him. This is for a totally separate, unrelated incident. So they're chasing this guy. At one point, Ben gets to a house, gets out of his car, gets into the house. He's got a gun. He's trying to hold the police off.
Never good.
They don't like that. Police do not like a standoff where they know that a person other than themselves is armed and acting in any manner like they're going to use a firearm against them. It's kind of a big no-no when you're dealing with police. Eventually, they stormed the house. Gunfire was exchanged. An officer got shot in his gun belt.
Of all the places, that's I guess a good spot to get shot because that leather and that
whatever else was on the belt.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking anywhere outside of your Kevlar vest.
Right.
If you have to be shot, I'm thinking the gun belt would be the best place. There's a lot of things on that gun belt that could possibly keep a bullet from entering your body.
Yeah.
I don't know if the leather would do it all by itself, but you got handcuffs. You usually have a number of different things.
The combination of, yeah.
So he got pretty lucky. Another officer was hit in the chest, but again, pretty lucky. He was wearing his vest. At this point, police made the decision to pull back out of the house. It's not like they had the full force there, right? They had a small number of officers that had been chasing Ben. They made the decision they were going to storm the house. They started taking fire and they thought, we better pull back. Let's call in some reinforcements. This guy's not going to come out without a fight. He's already shot 2 of our officers. But Ben is not going to wait around for reinforcements to get there. He makes the decision to shoot himself in the head. That's what he does. He takes his own life. Gunshot to the head.
Now, when researching this, I did find some online articles where they were trying to say that they felt the police shot him and made it look like a suicide. But the police are pretty firm. We pulled out. We waited. And during the time we waited, he decided to take his own life.
So I have 2 thoughts. One is that I don't know why the police would do that, but if they ever did that, they wouldn't admit it.
Right.
My second thought is that should be pretty easy to prove ballistically, right? Did they get his gun from him and shoot him in the head?
Right.
Or did he shoot himself? They're going to know what bullet that gun came from. They're also going to know how close that gun muzzle was to his head when the shot was fired. So, but I get your point, right? As you research these cases, when you stumble upon things, they can go in so many different directions, from even real reporting, right? Reporting from reputable sources, not to mention the fact of, when you get into some different types of online articles and Reddit pages and things like that, you can really get into some strange things there.
Oh, for sure.
So this is a tough situation for a number of different reasons. I mean, a man took his life, which is tragic, but also this is the person that probably had the most information about what really happened to Jackie Douthart. And if not had the most information, was definitely the last person known to have seen her alive in the early morning hours of May 23rd. So now he's dead.
It's got to be such a big disappointment for the family.
And I would think for police as well.
Yeah.
Because, we mentioned it. They wanted to interview him again. They wanted to ask him additional questions. That chance is gone. Compounding this is the fact that police just don't have any good leads whatsoever in Jackie's disappearance. Her family decided to offer up a $2,000 reward, hoping that it would generate some new leads. It doesn't. The police don't have really anything going, and the case turns cold. But then on March 17th, 2012, This is almost a year later. Two kids were traveling down Highway 34, just 8 miles past Mount Pleasant. They were on their bikes when they discovered a skull in a ditch on the side of the highway. This turned out to be a human skull. The police secured the site where the skull was found, and they set about putting together a recovery team with officers from the Mount Pleasant Police Department, along with county investigators, as well as the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigations. So multiple jurisdictions. Maybe that's why it took them 6 days to put together this recovery team, because it did. According to multiple articles, the skull was found on the 17th. The recovery team was formed on the 23rd. Seems like a long time, but I guess Gibbs, and this may sound bad. Were they thinking that, what's the rush? Let's put it together right. I mean, we found a skull. Right. We know whoever that skull belongs to is deceased. And again, I'm just talking out loud.
Yeah,
when we're talking about time frames.
So I think they could jump into it and just try to find what they can. But I also think they're trying to be smart about it. They're going to lay it out, grid it out, so they can find the remains, but also anything that they can find that could help them prosecute somebody down the road. So you got to take a little bit more time with that.
And that's why I keep you around to set me straight. Because a lot of times I have these thoughts, just like this one. Why does it take so long? Why didn't you get this team together the same day, the next day? But I think you make some very valid points, right? We know red tape, bureaucracy, sometimes things take longer than you'd like for them to take.
Yeah.
But also, maybe they were trying to really think about this and set it up in the best possible way. And sometimes that takes a little more time.
Yeah, you're going from a recovery scene to a crime scene, murder scene, however you want to phrase it.
Because they eventually did find the skeletal remains of a body nearby. They sent the remains to the crime lab, and the crime lab set about trying to perform some DNA profiling. But they were not successful identifying the remains. But while the investigators were searching for the skeletal remains, they also came across some clothing that matched up to the description of the clothing that Jackie was wearing when she disappeared. So I think it was based on this fact, the finding of what Jackie was wearing the night she disappeared, they made the conclusion that these skeletal remains were hers. The problem is what they found were skeletal remains. Very tough in a lot of cases where all you have is skeletal remains to determine cause of death. Now, it's possible. Sometimes you have marks on some of the bones. Sometimes, you have certain breaks
right.
that may indicate cause of death, but they didn't have that here. There was nothing to indicate Jackie's cause of death. So with no cause of death, the thought process of investigators became something went wrong that night or early that next morning between Jackie and Ben Biggs, right? They really started focusing on Ben Biggs. The problem is, we've already mentioned it. Jackie's not around because she's been killed, and Ben Biggs took his own life. So neither of them can shed any light on what happened in those early morning hours. Police continued to look into other leads, but there just wasn't anything out there. And Gibbs, I think this is somewhat of a strange case because investigators, they run out of leads to chase. They have a person that becomes their main suspect who took his own life. And really, it kind of ends up as they believe that Ben Biggs was involved in the death of Jackie Douthart. They can't prove it.
No.
And even if they could, what could they do?
Nothing at this point.
The man is dead.
Yeah. I think it just goes back to the night that he took her home. Was supposed to take her home and didn't. Something happened. It went bad. She ended up dead. He disposed of the body.
Well, I think that's what police believe. Now, do they believe that because all the facts point to that? Or do they believe that because that's really the only explanation that they can come up with because they have nothing else?
Exactly that right there.
That's what what I think. Doesn't mean it didn't happen, but they also can't prove it.
No, but to me, it's the most logical.
It is. It is. I mean, when you look at a lot of murders, who do police look at first? Individuals that were known to have been seen last with the victim.
Yeah.
And then family, spouses, friends. But a lot of times it's, the person that is the very last individual known to be with the victim. And in this case, it was Ben Biggs.
And that's why I'm never the last person with somebody.
You always make sure you hand them off to
whoever,
somebody else.
Yep.
So like wrestling, you tag somebody in and you're like, date's over. I can't take this person home. You have to.
This person's going to take you home. Thank you for coming out.
All of that being said, police have stated that even though they believe that Ben Biggs was involved, it doesn't mean that they don't look at everything that comes into their office, right? If there's a tip, a lead, they check it out.
That's their job.
That is their job. But as it stands, this is a cold case. Now, if you check social media, there's a lot of people that think this case is solved because they believe that Ben Biggs was involved, as do the police. Tough case for a number of different reasons. There's not that much information out there. We're telling the story the best that we can based on the little information that's out there. That's why we have to do multiple cases to make up this episode. But I think in looking at it, Jackie Douthart has a daughter out there. So hopefully she's doing okay. Couldn't really find anything on her, which is not unusual.
Right.
A lot of times you don't find anything on victims' children, even, if they're grown up. And then her family. They may believe that this individual had something to do with Jackie's death as the police do. I don't know because I didn't see that. But even if they do, technically it wasn't proven in a court of law. So what does that do? What does that do for the family?
Right.
To me, I would think it leaves some room for doubt and will always leave just a little bit of room for doubt, even if they believe in their heart this guy had something to do with it.
Yeah, because you want to see somebody pay for what happened to your daughter.
Or at the very least, you want a jury to say, we've weighed all the evidence.
Right.
And we believe beyond the shadow of a doubt that this person did it. And in this case, you have neither one.
Right.
Even if you did have a jury say that this person couldn't pay for their crime, but you don't have either one. So let's jump into the next case. And it's the disappearance and double murder of Lyric Cook-Morrissey and Elizabeth Collins on July 13th, 2012. Let's talk a little bit about the victims first. Elizabeth June Marie Collins was born on July 31st, 2003 to Drew and Heather Collins. She attended the Pointer Elementary School, and it's been said that she was a very happy child, always cheerful, always had a smile on her face. She was the type of little girl, Gibbs, that loved to dress up, right? Put on dresses, do her nails. She was just a delight to be around. She had a good soul. She loved watching movies with her siblings. Elizabeth's dad made a statement that, she was an amazing child, but he said he could not have hoped for a better child. This one hits kind of close to home for me.
Yeah.
It reminds me very much of my daughters. They both loved to play dress up when they were little. Always into, messing around with their nails. This was even before they were old enough to really do it. They would play like they were getting manicures and things like that. They loved watching movies. So it hits pretty close to home. Lyric Cook-Morrissey was born October 2nd, 2001 to Dan Morrissey and Misty Cook-Morrissey. She also attended Pointer Elementary School and was described as a beautiful girl. The thing about this case, Gibbs, is that Lyric and Elizabeth were cousins. Lyric was 10 years old and her cousin Elizabeth was 8. Lyric was described very much like Elizabeth, had a big smile. She had a very contagious laugh. She was outgoing. She was described as a very loving person.
And she loved doing cheerleading. She loved going bowling and gymnastics. I mean, those were some passions of hers at an early age.
And she enjoyed playing outside every chance she got. But it was on July 13th, 2012, that Lyric and Elizabeth went missing in Evansdale, Iowa. Early in the day, the girls decided to ride their bikes to the center of town.
It's what you do as a kid, right? Back in the day. At least that's what I did. We would all ride our bikes, get up in the morning and just go riding our bikes until we had to come home.
Well, we have to talk about the time of year. It's July 13th. This would have been summer break, right? These girls are not in school.
Right.
You remember what it was like on summer break. Basically what you just said. I got to find some friends because we're going to go do something.
Yeah, getting up early and hitting it.
Witnesses saw the two of them riding together around 12:30 p.m. and then again about 1 p.m. So 2 different sets of witnesses saw the girls riding. At the later sighting, the 1 p.m. sighting, they were heading towards Meyers Lake.
Which is like a boating and fishing type of lake. Like a recreational lake.
When the girls didn't return home as scheduled, the family got concerned, as you would, right? These girls are only 8 and 10 years old. If you were expecting them to be home at a certain time and they're not, you're going to be worried. Now, my daughter, who's 18 years old, if she says she'll be home at 7 and it gets to be 7:05, I'm not too worried.
Right.
But when you have little girls, 8 and 10 years old, you start to get worried very quickly.
Oh, for sure. It wouldn't be the norm for them to be late. They're going to be on time in most cases. Yeah, it makes me think about the times that I thought I maybe misplaced one of the kids at the grocery store. You freak out.
You misplaced a child at the grocery store?
They were...
You couldn't find them.
Yeah.
Okay. When you say misplaced,
That's true. Yeah.
That kind of threw me a little bit.
But you have that, your heart kind of races. You're like...
I've had that feeling more than once.
Yeah, so when they don't come home, you're kind of like, do I need to call out the National Guard right away?
Yeah, because I think of their ages, right? We said it, 8 and 10. And for me, I never had boys. So I can't say this with certainty, but my thought is, I don't know if I would worry as much about boys as I did about my girls. And maybe I would just as much. I don't know.
I think you would. I know I did.
Same age. Did you?
Yeah.
So you had one of each, so you can speak from experience. I know, just like you, I was all over town at 8, 10 years old. I was riding my bike to friends' houses. My parents were at work and I was home alone. So what was I going to do? Ride my bike to the park and find a pickup basketball game, or I would never let my kids do that.
It's different today.
When they were 8 and 10 years old.
Yeah.
So the family's concerned. They go out looking for the girls, but they can't find them. So I think very quickly they called the police. This was about 3 p.m. and said, we need help. We need help finding our daughters. And we kind of just talked about it, right? When you have a missing 8-year-old and a missing 10-year-old, people tend to jump into action quickly. Police began searching the area. They brought in some local volunteers, and it didn't take them long to find the girls' bikes.
It was like around 5 p.m. that night.
Yeah, that's not long considering the fact that they were just alerted at 3 p.m. But they did have some information to go on, right? A witness saw the girls headed towards Meyers Lake, and they found the girls' bikes near Meyers Lake on a hiking trail. They also found Elizabeth's purse close to where they found the bikes, but there was no sign of the girls. And I mentioned moving quickly, and it does seem like police did that in this case. They called in the FBI because based on what they found, right? They found the bikes, they found the purse, they didn't find the girls. They started to think this is a possible abduction. So let's get the FBI involved. So authorities decided to lower the water level at the lake. They also brought in dive teams to search the bottom of the lake, as well as special equipment to scan the lake.
Yeah, some of that sonar stuff to see what else could be at the bottom where the divers can't get to.
Yeah, this is 2012. There's some pretty advanced technology. This is not a search that happened in 1965. They also brought in the search dogs, had them go around the outside of the lake and the surrounding area. Now, while this was going on, the volunteers were continuing to look for the girls as well. They were posting flyers. They were putting them on people's homes. They were putting them on cars throughout the city.
Yeah, I think the community involvement was really strong here. You know, and why wouldn't it be? I think that would be anywhere. When you have kids missing, I think so many people come out because they know time is critical, and they also, you can relate to, I mean, it's kids. You want them kids to be found as soon as possible when they're little like that. Can't imagine thinking about them being missing going into the night.
Yeah, I'm right with you, Gibbs, especially, people that have kids. I mean, I think the thought is, oh my gosh, if my kids were missing like this, I would want everyone to come out and help. So I'm going to help because I would want the same thing for my kids. Now, I'm not saying you have to have kids to feel that way, but I think if you do have kids, you definitely have that feeling.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, single people probably feel the same way, a lot of them, because everybody loves kids.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to see harm come to any child. So they have all these people searching for the girls, police, FBI, volunteers, but no one finds these missing girls in or around the lake. So the authorities begin questioning family, friends, locals to try to gain any information they can to help them find these two girls. But sadly, like what happens in a lot of the cases that we talk about, they're not able to develop any good leads. 5 months goes by, and it's on December 5th that some hunters were hiking through a secluded area of the Seven Bridges Wildlife Park when they found these two little girls' bodies. This site was 25 miles north of the lake where everyone had been searching. On December 6th, the sheriff came out at a press conference to confirm that the two bodies found were that of Lyric and Elizabeth. Gibbs, this was the news that the families absolutely did not want to hear. They were hoping for anything but this. Police never released the details of how the girls were murdered because they said it was so graphic. And I think that tells you something in 2012 because, again, I'll say it, this is not the 60s. We talked about this in our coverage of Gacy. A lot of the newspapers wouldn't even mention what Gacy had done early on when he was sexually assaulting teenagers. They didn't want to print it. They called it a morals charge. But this was 2012, right? The media was much more open to giving the public details. I think that tells you how horrific the deaths of these two little girls were. Police didn't want to release it.
Yeah.
It was just too bad. And the families had the choice to hear how their children died or not. And they chose not to hear it. They didn't want to know every single detail because they felt like they couldn't handle it. After knowing that it was too horrific to tell the public,
yeah,
that probably made their decision for them.
It'd be rough.
Yeah.
It'd be rough.
I feel like it would be something that would be stuck in your head every day. Now, obviously, the fact that your little child has died, that's going to stay with you. But to know exactly how it happened, especially in a very brutal murder, I do think that would be extremely rough. So it was definitely heartbreaking for the family, no doubt, but it was also heartbreaking for the community. They were very invested in finding these little girls. A lot of people had put a lot of time into searching for them. They cared at this point, right, about the safety of these little girls. So to find out that they had been brutally murdered, it crushed everyone. So while the family and the community mourned the deaths of Lyric and Elizabeth, the authorities continued their investigation. The FBI brought in their behavior analysis unit to help develop a profile of who may have murdered these girls.
Yeah, I think at this point they need all the help they can.
So you're getting into the area of Mindhunter, right? That is the behavioral analysis unit. The profile came out as this was one person, and it was a person who was undergoing a great deal of stress, most likely as a result of a life-changing event. Think divorce, think, loss of employment, something like that. Possibly this person had mental health issues. This is what the profile said. It also said that this person would have known the area well, both the lake area and the area where the girls' bodies were dumped. The profiler said that the perpetrator was a person that would not stand out in the area. They would blend in very well with the locals. So by that, Gibbs, they could be local, they could not be local, but if they were not local, they wouldn't stand out in town, right? That's what the profilers are saying. They would have used a method to gain the girls' trust, right? To be able to get close to them. They thought that this individual had probably done this before, or at the very least attempted it. It was also said that they thought that they would have changed their appearance right after the murders, either changing their hair, facial hair, whatever they could do to look different. They most likely sold their car, or at least painted it a different color and gutted the interior.
I mean, some of this
is common sense.
Common sense.
It is.
And
we've said that before. I think a lot of profiling is, but there are nuances to it that really start to pinpoint a specific person.
Yeah.
But you're right. A lot of these things, you don't have to be an FBI profiler to think, well, this person probably did this, this, and this.
Yeah. I mean,
because it makes sense.
Yeah, he probably fit in or looked like he belonged there because nobody noticed anybody out of the ordinary walking around. I mean, I get it.
If not, you would have had a witness say, I remember seeing this person. Yeah. They were 7 feet tall. Right. I had never seen them around town before. Or this person was wearing platform shoes and a mink coat in Evansdale, Iowa. Nobody wears that stuff in Evansdale, Iowa. It's things like that. It was 6 months after the girls went missing that investigators decided to release a statement about a lead to the press. They said that they had 3 eyewitnesses the day that the girls went missing that had all seen what they called a suspicious, older, full-sized SUV that was white.
I'm kind of thinking like the famous Bronco in the OJ case.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how old this vehicle was. What year was that Bronco? Early 90s, maybe? Late 80s, early 90s?
I'm thinking late 80s, yeah.
So it just all depends. But there were a lot of SUVs, right, made in the 2000s. These eyewitnesses said that it was seen driving around town. It was seen parked in town, but it was also seen very close to where the girls' bikes were found on that trail. Okay, that's interesting.
Very suspicious.
Driving around town, parked in town, not that big a deal, possibly. But if you're saying the same vehicle was seen parked near where they found the girls' bikes, that's something else entirely to me. Police said that they held on to this information because they were actively investigating the lead. And to me, that makes sense. That happens a lot in investigations. But the public was ticked, Gibbs, when they finally said that they had these eyewitnesses. They wanted to know, hey, why didn't you tell us this earlier? Maybe other people could have come forward that saw the white SUV. Maybe you would have gotten more leads.
Yeah. Maybe we knew who that belonged to. You never know because you didn't ask.
Right. But that happens in a lot of investigations, and normally it happens for a reason. The police and FBI investigated thousands of leads in this case, as well as a large number of potential persons of interest. They looked into sex offenders around the area. They looked at men recently released from prison.
You know, the standard pool of people of interest, I think.
I think so. I think when an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old girl are killed, police are naturally going to look at sex offenders, especially with a history of committing crimes against little girls. And why wouldn't you look at people recently released from prison, especially if their crimes involved girls? Gibbs, 2 people have confessed to these murders, but authorities eliminated them after finding out that, you know what, they just didn't know any of the specific details about the case.
It always makes me wonder why people do that. I know we talked about it in the past.
Yeah, but they do. They do time after time. People go in and they want to confess to things that they didn't have anything to do with.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
It also goes back to why police withhold information. We just said it.
Yeah.
Because if they throw everything out there, if they lay it all out, then what do they have to test people on when they come in and confess? Well, you're going to have all the details because we laid it all out. We got to keep some of that very specific stuff back. Now, I don't know if it was right or wrong to withhold the white SUV. That's not a very specific detail of how the murders were committed or anything like that. But you can second guess the police all day long.
Oh, absolutely.
In 2018, police arrested a man in the nearby city of Ankeny, Iowa. At the time, Jeff Altmaier was 58 years old, a known sex offender, and was charged with trying to entice and assault at least 19 children in several counties in Iowa. Add on top of that, Gibbs, that all 19 of these children were girls.
Yeah. He had his type.
Yes, and this is a guy, based on that information, that you know police would want to look at. And obviously they did because they arrested him. So apparently this guy would offer $100 bills to little girls to get them to hop into his van.
Yeah, he would go up to them and approach them and show them the $100 bill and say, hey, I got some yard work. If you come with me in my van, I'll take you there. You do a little bit of the work. You get your $100. I'll bring you back.
This guy was a field inspector for an auto insurance company. So he went out and he inspected damage, right? When somebody called in a claim, this meant that he traveled around quite a bit.
Which is scary because it allows him to be in these different areas.
It also means that he's in his car a lot. And we know from profiling serial killers and serial rapists and offenders like that, that a lot of them, they're out scouting pretty much all the time. Like anytime they're out, they're looking for victims. That's very scary.
Yeah.
One of the girls that was a victim of this man testified at his trial. She described that she got into the van, and once she was in the passenger seat, this man began touching her private parts. Then he made her touch him. And then when he was done, he made her get out of the van. Tough for a little girl. And again, we don't know ages. We don't know how old this girl is, but
Right.
she was a minor. I think pretty tough to get on the stand and have to give this testimony and say, this is what happened to me. Pretty courageous, though.
Yeah, I mean, for all these girls to have this guy grope them and then turn around and make them touch him, it's just disgusting.
Jeff Altmaier was eventually found guilty of some lesser crimes, but the big crimes he was found guilty of were kidnapping and sexual assault. And for those, he received a life sentence. And I think a lot of people would cheer at that.
Yeah.
A guy like this who victimized a large number of children, I think should go away for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Now, you and I cover a lot of cases. A lot of the cases that we've done in years past, say 60s, 70s, this person would not have received a life sentence. Would he have gotten 10 years? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Would he have been paroled in 2?
I'm exactly there with you because
Yeah.
I thought the same thing when I saw that he got a life sentence. I thought, really? I'm surprised. I'm glad, but I am surprised.
But it's also 2018
Yes.
or 2019. I don't know exactly when his trial, his conviction was. It's present day. Let's say that.
Yeah.
Things have changed a great deal when it comes to crimes against women and crimes against children. And I think they're good changes
Oh, for sure.
because people like this who go to prison and get out within a small number of years, what are they going to do, Gibbs? As soon as they get out, they are looking for a young child, in this guy's case, a young girl,
Yeah.
to victimize. I guarantee it.
Go back to what they did prior to.
But the police could never physically tie this guy to the murders of Lyric and Elizabeth. They thought he was a good suspect, but it didn't really fit his MO to murder. Right? He victimized a lot of young girls. But as far as the police knew, he wasn't a murderer.
But I can see how the police would kind of tie him into this with the way that the girls were probably abducted.
Well, I think they could have easily thought that he could have used the $100 bill ruse to lure Lyric and Elizabeth into his van.
Yeah.
But they could never tie him. Around the time that the girls went missing, Lyric's mom and dad were involved in a large meth operation. And there are many people that believe that the girls' abduction and murders had something to do with the drugs. Now, authorities don't believe that. They don't think they're connected in any way. But both of Lyric's parents received prison sentences for their dealings with drugs. Misty is out, but Dan is still in prison. Police have come out and said, though, that if they ever got anything to support the connection between the murders of Lyric and Elizabeth and this drug business, they would investigate it. They've just never been able to connect the two to this point. Elizabeth's father, Drew, has never given up hope of solving this case. He believes that one day someone will pay for what they did. Now, he's also said he still has no desire to know exactly how the girls died. But he did tell the local news outlet that both girls were fighters, and he knows they would have put up a good fight against their assailant. You know, he has said that not a day goes by that Elizabeth is not in his thoughts. He always wonders what she would be doing today if she were alive. Gibbs, you and I talk about that a lot.
We do.
Especially with the murder of younger children who never got the chance to grow up, never got to reach their potential, see what they could have done.
Yeah.
You always wonder,
What would their lives been?
yeah, would they have gone on to be remarkable? Or, like most of us, just gone on to live a great life, raise a family? You just never know.
They were stripped from them.
But as happens with a lot of these cases, Elizabeth's murder took a huge toll on her family. Her parents eventually divorced. This happens so often, Gibbs, dealing with the loss of a child and at the same time trying to keep a marriage alive is difficult. It has to be very, very hard.
I think that many would disengage with life.
I think
something like this.
I think many people do.
Yeah.
Elizabeth's younger sister has said that it's sad every day to wake up and know that you can't just talk to your sister and you won't be able to do those things that you wanted to do with her for the rest of your life. It's not going to happen. Gibbs, I think the parents all feel that whoever murdered their daughters was local to the area. I think a big factor in that opinion comes from the fact that they believe the person just had a ton of knowledge about the Seven Bridges area, knowledge that maybe an outsider wouldn't have had.
So I do think it's probably somebody local, somebody that knows that area, somebody that can get in and get out and move around without being identified.
I think it could be, but I also don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that this is someone passing through. You know, I just don't know how much stock to put into the fact that you need to know an area to spot two young girls and be able to abduct them and get away unseen. I guess for me, Gibbs, it comes down to the lake area. You know, is it crowded? Is it populated? Or are there some hiking trails like where the girls' bikes were found that are fairly remote, where there may not be a lot of traffic? Then, you know, you talk about where the girls' bodies were ultimately found. A person starts driving. They drive 25 miles. All of a sudden, they see a place that looks like a good place to dump two bodies.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to sound crass about it.
No.
I'm just playing devil's advocate to this person has to know the lay of the land kind of theory. Because I think it could be either or. I really don't know if this has to be somebody that has an unbelievable knowledge of the area. I really don't. It's probably based on the number of cases you and I have done where people are just passing through.
Yeah.
And they spot somebody that they decide is going to be their next victim. In this case, it happened to be two young girls. But that's part of the mystery. Memorial spots were set up around town for the girls. There was also a set of crosses out in the field signifying where the girls were found. The police and family continue to hope that someone will come forward with information that will lead to an arrest. Police continue to get leads, about a dozen or so per month, and they follow up on all of them in the hopes that one day they'll find out who murdered these girls. The FBI and families have offered a $150,000 reward, leading to an arrest and conviction in the case. The local community added another $25,000 to it.
It's quite a bit of money.
It is a lot of money. It's also a very tragic case, and a case that probably tugs at a lot of people's heartstrings.
Oh,
especially in that town, but you know, in surrounding towns, surrounding areas, people are willing to give money. They're willing to give their time to help figure out what happened to these girls.
Yeah, somebody needs to pay.
But that's it for the murders of Jackie Douthart, Lyric Cook-Morrissey, and Elizabeth Collins. Tragic cases all around. We got some voicemails, Gibbs. You want to check those out?
Let's hear them.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. This is Sandy from Ohio. I am obsessed with your podcast. I just recently discovered the podcast about 2 or 3 months ago, and I've listened to every single episode So now I'm starting to go back and listen to older podcasts. I'm going to ask for a membership for my birthday so I can get access to everything. But the other day, you guys were from Ohio, but the other day I heard Gibby say that he works in Westchester. I am very, very, very close to Westchester. Let's just say like within walking distance. So I just found it really cool that I could have been or could be in the presence of celebrities at some point in time. And I am not Team Gibby or Team Mike. I'm Team both. I think you guys are awesome and you definitely bring light into my day every day. So keep on keeping on and keep your time ticking. Thanks guys. Bye.
Very cool. I think the funniest part about that is that she thinks you're a celebrity.
That's really funny. And I was going to tell her that when I seen her sitting at that restaurant, but I didn't want her to walk up on her like that, you know.
You didn't want to embarrass her.
No.
I get it.
Yeah.
So you and I both used to work in Westchester.
We did.
But no longer do.
Neither one of us.
Neither one of us.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Gibby. This is Alexandra L'Oreal Berry here in Kansas City, Missouri. Just want to say you guys are awesome. I listen to you every weekend, both TCAT and TCAT Unsolved. I wanted to make 2 suggestions for you. Excuse me. The first one being Casey Strangler. Come to find out, he actually murdered one of my relatives. So it'd be really cool to hear your guys' take on that. And 2, Unsolved would be also here in Casey. Baby Lisa Irwin. She went missing from her crib at home, and many years later, nobody knows what happened still. So it'd be really cool to hear you guys discuss both those cases if possible sometime in the near future. Maybe, maybe not. Either way, I love listening to you guys and just enjoy your banter, enjoy, just the funness that you guys have with such dark topics sometimes. Anyway, you guys keep it up. Keep your own time ticking. Love ya.
Love you too.
Appreciate that.
So we will make sure we have both those cases on the list.
Yeah.
One for solved and one for unsolved.
Perfect.
Hello, Mike and Gibby. I just want to add and say that you guys are amazing, and I also listen to you exclusively. I am a criminology major at Cal Poly Pomona in California, and out of all the podcasts I've ever listened to, yours is my favorite, so you are what I listen to exclusively. I don't listen to any other podcast, just this one, and I wait every Sunday for it. Keep up the good work, and I hope you guys come out with more Unsolved episodes. Those are my favorite. I love the mystery behind them. Goodbye.
Well, we will definitely come out with more unsolved episodes. There'll be one every Sunday.
We will.
So that happens sometimes where people leave a voicemail and then they leave another one adding on to it.
Yeah.
I happen to get the one where adding on to it. So that's how it happens.
At least one of them made it.
Hi, Mike and Gibby. My name is Keena, and I'm actually from Johnson City, Tennessee. I'm listening to the Durham family murders on Unsolved, and I just wanted to let you guys know that it's pronounced Appalachia. You guys have butchered the name, and almost everyone here would kind of fight you. So if you're ever confused, just know that we always say, if you get it wrong, we will throw in Appalachia. Thank you guys for the podcast. You're amazing. Have a good day.
So this is actually a topic that I got a lot of emails about.
Throw an apple at you?
My pronunciation of Appalachian. I don't even know how I said it.
Appalachian State.
But one of them is about the university itself.
Right.
I would never say Appalachia or Appalachia. I've just never said it that way. The Appalachian Mountains? Is that how you say it?
You think I would say it that way, though?
You would. But you don't even say it that way.
I know, but you think I would have.
But she's saying that's the way we should be saying it.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. With almost every pronunciation, I get emails, it's said this way.
Yeah.
It's said this way. No, it's said this way.
Doesn't matter.
I don't know how to say it. So I'll just say it the way I say it. And then I'll just continue to get the email.
There you go.
But part of that is we like when people reach out. We like when people call. We like when people email.
No, you don't.
I do. Even if it's to tell us that, you said this wrong.
Yeah, that's good.
Sometimes, just sometimes, not often, I get to correct people.
You do.
not often, because most of the time I'm wrong. But every now and then somebody says something that I know for a fact is not right, and I correct
Yeah,
them.
when it comes to things being said wrong, that's 100% you all the time.
That's me.
I don't get any of that.
No, because you are dead nuts on perfect every time.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, buddy. We got to get out of here.
Yeah.
That is it for another episode of True Crime All Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
It's more challenging than ever to meet the demands of competing priorities that work throws our way. From emails to reports and project proposals, we need help to get it all done. Grammarly is the essential AI communication assistant that boosts your productivity at work, so you can get more of what you need done faster, no matter what or where you're writing. Grammarly sets the standard for responsible AI and equips you with the best tools to do your job. Like AI-powered features that help you write and edit quickly everywhere you write. Or tone features that help you communicate more confidently. Just a few clicks can tailor your tone and writing so you come across exactly as you intend. No wonder 93% of professionals report that Grammarly helps them get more work done. Let Grammarly take the busy work off your plate so you can focus on high-impact work. Download Grammarly for free at grammarly.com/podcast. That's grammarly.com/podcast.